Malugod po namin kayo wini-welcome sa ating ikasampung episode ng webinar serye na pinamagatang Permaculture Design. Ako po muli si Irene ng Philippine Permaculture Association at sabay-sabay ulit tayong matuto sa isa na namang makabuluhang talakayan. Gusto lang din po namin kumustahin ang mga kasama po natin ngayon sa Zoom at sa ating FB Live. Pwede niyo pong sabihin dyan kung saan po kayo nanonood sa mga oras na ito. Kami po, ako po, at aming team ay nandito po ngayon sa Nueva Ecija, sa Cabiocid, sa side po natin dito sa Cabiao. Hindi ko lang alam kung may nagko-comment ba to. Ayan, meron kasama po natin si Mama Rila Sierda from Cebu, maayong buntag. Ganun din po si Miagaw Empa, maayong nga aga. Ayan, marami rin po tayong kasama sa Paranaque, sa Makati at sa Pampanga. So mukhang handang-handa na nga ang lahat, kaya hindi ko na po papatagalin pa ito. Gusto ko pong ipakilala sa inyo ang ating tagapagsalita ngayong araw na ito. Siya po ay isang accredited permaculture teacher and designer with versatile experiences and who has designed sustainable systems and products for over 30 years in the Philippines and in other countries on short-term missions. He has been the founder of Kabyokid Foundation and Philippine Permaculture Association. He has led both not-for-profit organizations towards profitability and prosperity. He also co-founded Brilliant Practices Permaculture in 2014. During his enduring years of resilient and adaptive work, he collaborated with many individuals, corporations, and institutions in search for solutions by creating smart and earth-friendly design. Let's all welcome po on our virtual stage, Sir Bert Peeters. Magandang umaga po, Sir Bert.
Magandang umaga. Kararating ko lang eh. Tama-tama. Ako na mag-share screen siguro, no, Irene? Tama?
Apa, sir.
So, oops, sorry. Nakita ba natin ito? Okay na ba? Can I get confirmation if you can see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, ang assigned topic sa akin ay permaculture designing. Sana excited tayo lahat dahil, well, it sounds like permaculture and designing is something run by people. And to some extent it is. But I would like to take the opportunity in these 2-hour sessions to maybe give you some time to ask questions later, but also to put design in a perspective. And also to put it in the perspective in a way that we kind of coined it with Philippine Permaculture Association. And I'm sure some of you are members and others may want to become member in the future. So please indicate that as well towards the end of the session. But permaculture designing, I think PPA has been in the forefront since 2000, since the time of its birth, to look at a different way of looking at our basically our economic system. Things were not working. Our social systems were not working as well. And I think we are still trapped into the sacred money, sacred market system as coined by some other writers. And I think we all feel that something is not going right. Something needs to change. And I think we need to look at life and the living earth as a model for us to embrace. And I think the designing aspect that we have been developing over the past 22 years is basically that kind of design model. It's not like hocus pocus, we are doing something because nature tells us how to do it. It's guiding us to tell us that we need to build a kind of different society, a society that is working with living components and not destroying living components for the sake of generating cash money. Which is becoming the virtual God or the real God for many people nowadays. So what permaculture designing basically is all about, it's about mimicking natural designs. What do we see in nature? And it's also giving us a way, or at least it's kind of developing a way of seeing, a new way of seeing things that have been around for 3.8 billion years, more or less. That's the birth year of the Earth, no? And we humans have been, we evolved basically 200,000 years ago. So in that very short time span, we have done so many things. We were developing and we evolved from within that Earth system. We are just one component within the Earth. But for us now to see again what are nature's designs, what have we inherited in the 3.8 billion years. That's the key for us to understand and to unlock as well permaculture designing, because we need to provide that holistic well-being for a happy planet, because if the planet is happy, everyone else will be happy, and that's the key towards permaculture designing. So it's a process of learning from nature's simple designs and to create amazing complex structures that are either that are and beautiful and functional. um, I popped up a small drawing in the middle of this circle. This was a garden design somewhere in the world. But to be able to make it functional, you put a compost bin in the middle where you start decomposing leaves to be able to grow your garden or your trees or whatever you're up to. Point being, permaculture designs are not intrusive. It's really trying to understand how can I use the simplest of energies to be able to make something amazingly functional and yet also very beautiful. Because I think if we can agree on one thing, nature is beautiful and it is amazing and it is very functional. The earth itself as a living system has been providing us with a home for so many years. And let's hope that we can continue living on this planet, that we are not continuing to destroy it in the way we are doing it right now. So the key concepts, if we do permaculture designs, and are basically physics, chemistry, and biology, and a little bit of history to put things in perspective. I mean, it's actually that simple. It's not about economics. It's not. It could be about economics if we translate economics as a way to care for our common home. If we go back to the original translation of it. It's also not per se about mathematics and computing and cashing in things. It's about understanding how nature evolves, how nature is a very cooperative system that allows us to tap into all its knowledge for free. And for us to see that and then to become permaculture designers using nature as our background and then creating amazing designs as well. Starting maybe with our house, because that's the key, one of the key features that we need to be able to live happily, a home, a place where we can live happily on this planet. So what we do basically is to react creatively and naturally to changes over time. But look at the picture here. Look how we have been painting our beautiful landscape. And I think everyone will say, ay, magandang Pilipinas. Ang bansa ko talaga special yan. Yes, pero I'm very sad that every time I drive and I travel through the country, I see the right popping up everywhere. And it's not something people build. It's not something communities are wanting. It's something that corporations are pushing up upon us as if this is the need of people. This is what we need. But nobody needs to live like that. Nobody deserves to live like that. Nobody deserves to be a recipient of a design like that. So how can we go back to a picture on the left where we look at green nature, the living fabric of Earth, and yet still design habitats that are productive and resilient for us, or adaptive even to the changing climate. So resilient may, sorry, going back. Resilient may eventually snap, but nature will remain amazing all throughout. A subdivision on the right, which we are building in the thousands, is something that's unsustainable. It's unforgiving. It doesn't really create conditions conducive for life. It really literally pushes life away. It's made for our machines. It's made for our appliances. It's not made for people to enjoy life. We all agree that we would love to live in something that we see on the left side. So when we coined our slogan as PPA, we said we have to be great together. We can't do this alone. And great means standing for generating ecosystems-based abundance together. And it's a very simple phrase, but until now, I still find it amazingly powerful phrase. And I would like to kind of analyze that with you guys through the course of this presentation. And some key points I would like to bring up before we go into depth on what generating ecosystems-based abundance together stands for, is to look at what we will do before we even start designing. What do we need to know? If we talk about physics and chemistry and biology, let's segregate things in a way that we understand what are the components, how are things connected, how are things even thriving together in nature before we start integrating these components. I mean, a typical example would be If I go around and you talk to farmers or people who would like to set up a site, they will always say, "No, I would like to have goats. I would like to have these pigs and this and that." And then, but the basic question is, do you even understand what this component, the pigs, the goats, the chickens, what they need to be able to thrive? Is your system, is your home, your habitat ready even to receive them? Even if you're going to build a beautiful home for it, if there is no food to feed them, it's not going to work. So segregate before you integrate, scan your ecosystem, get to know your place. Where are you going to make your design? Where are you going to thrive? And then let your senses decide what really is meaningful for you. It's not because your neighbor has a pig that you feel you need to have a pig as well. If animals are not your thing, if you are into bamboo, if you're into wood, then start doing something with that. And I think we should choose and we should start making any design based on not making money, but enjoying the process of making it, because that's a very important aspect of that permaculture designing as well. So hear things, if you're musical, see structures, feel the fabric. If you want to, if you're a field person, maybe you make fabrics and so on. Tasting food. You can do permaculture designing using food and smell the well-being, the aromatic oils, the scents, etc. So all of these things can happen with the different personalities that we have, depending on how we tap into our own senses. And then focus on one thing to start with. Surround yourself with many corresponding components, but let the energy flow between the edges. Sometimes if I talk about permaculture designing, sasabihin ko na magsimula tayo sa isang komponahe lang. Halimbawa, kung building ang pinag-usapan yan, baka kasilyas ang unang gagawin ko. Kasi it's importanteng parte ng bahay, di ba? It's the CR, the comfort room, yung salitang comfort. So you can build a house using, or starting the design with just that one component, but then see what do I build besides it? Saan ba yung garden? Saan ang kitchen dito? Saan yung living room? Yung tulugan? So parang unti-unti, ibubuo mo na yung design based on the focus or based on the start of focusing on one thing. Because otherwise, designing, permaculture designing can be very overwhelming. There are so many components, so many aspects to consider. So you better start focusing on one thing, a thing that is very close to your heart, and then you let things develop from there. Create meaningful patterns while building your design. So make relations work both ways. So balikan natin yung kasilya sa halimbawa. What do I get out of it? Anong input yan? Alam na natin kung anong input. But the input of that is something na gustuhan din yung bakuran natin, or yung food forest, or yung iba't ibang component. So analyze that. How do things fit together? Yung chain na gagawin mo, it's not just a value chain, it's a value cycle of things. So parang lahat ng mga lakas, lahat ng mga energies, lahat ng outputs ng isang component will be absorbed by the next component. In that sense, you create a very dense design that's going to be very stable, very resilient, and very adaptive to any kind of disturbances. Thinking about typhoons like Odette, I think permaculture farms and structures will be much more better and capable of withstanding strong forces of nature or sudden abrupt energy bursts like strong winds, earthquakes, etc. So make it dense, make it connect, make it. That's why start to segregate first all the different components before you bring them all together into a very strong bonding. And in that sense, your permaculture design is going to go for success and for durability as well. No? Then do it slow. Kasi kailangan din natin gawin ng mga magagandang bagay. Nature is beautiful. If we can learn from that, then I see so much ugliness around me. Again, pasensya na lang kung sasabihin ko o gagamitin ko yung salitang pangit. Pero why are we not building beautiful things? Why are we not creating beautiful parks, beautiful streets, places where people can sit and relax, where you can cuddle with somebody, where you can sing a song, where you can listen to the songs of birds or something like that? I have not met or I have not seen any city in the Philippines where you feel that kind of surroundings. It's always rush. hush. You have to go to the mall to be able to sit down in a place where you have to pay for something to be able to enjoy your 10 minutes sitting down. I mean, there are hardly any benches in the cities. It's like everything has to flow, and everything is made for making more money. It's not made because we want to enjoy life. And I think permaculture designing is in the first place focusing of making things beautiful, making things sensible, making things also uh, productive for us, not per se for making money. If you make something productive, if you make something beautiful because you really love it and passionately devoted your time in creating it, I'm sure the money will follow anyway. So try to think like that. Permaculture designing is not about starting to make money, it's about starting to make a living. And again, it's the sacred life, the sacred living earth that is the most important thing at this moment that we need to adhere to. So these are 4 points na pinalabas ko dito dahil before we even dive in how to become great together, it's like an attitude. It's like something we can put on like our glasses and we can see the world in a different perspective if you do that. Every time you see something, every time you dream about something, try to use these 4 points before you start creating something. Because with all our build, and plan, it's the plan, the PLAN, that's the most important. And kadalasan, nakakalimutan natin yung ganyan. Uh, Agad pupunta tayo sa action and then maraming kamalian. Mahirap aayusin pag nandun na yung bagay. So mas maganda, magplano ka na lang kahit kailangan mo ng isang taon, kailangan mo ng isang buwan, magplano, guhit ka na lang sa papel, madali lang yan. Hindi mabigat, hindi mahal, hindi magastos. Mas magastos kung kailangan mo sirain yung design pagkatapos nagawa na dahil may kulang or may mali, no? So yan yung point ko dito na let's be great together from the start. At gusto ko rin na iiwasan nyo rin yung mga kamalian or yung mga potential na kamalian. Kasi mabigat din sa totoo. Kung sa loob ng 20 years, lahat ng mga kamalian namin, pwede namin sana i-share sa inyo para hindi nyo kailangan gawin. Diba? Mas magaan, mas madali, at mas mabilis tayo pupunta sa isang mundo, isang bansa kung saan mas maayos, mas maganda yung samahan at yung kalidad ng buhay. Hindi yung dami ng pera, kalidad ng buhay, yung hanap buhay as in the real sense of the world, no? Word, no? Sorry. So, I go for the first thing. It's about generating, diba? Yung slogan ng PPA is about generating ecosystems-based abundance. So what's in the word generating? It's to maximize the free energies. And if you look at the arrows below, hanggang ngayon, sa school, sa economics, sa lahat ng mga bagay na tinuro sa atin, sa lahat ng mga bagay na nakikita natin sa productive systems between parentheses, ganon ang production system. It's like parang putol siya, hindi siya konektado. Ang energy flow ay abruptly stop for the sake of reaping in profits. And I'm talking about monetary profits. Look at these arrows, no? If you start, let's say, any kind of field, any kind of commercial field, banana plantation, rice plantation, corn plantation, you start with the planting, that's the bottom of the arrow. You let the crop grow until it ripens, the arrow goes down. Then you harvest it. Ang nangyari after harvest, you kill the system. Kadalasan, inaararo ulit yung lupa. Kadalasan, tatapon ulit ng mga chemicals, ng mga fertilizers, ng mga whatever. Pero may period talaga as in bare soil ang naiwan na lang. That kind of design system that has been our mantra of making money is wrecking the earth, it's destroying the earth, it's destroying the living fabric, and it's destroying also whatever clean water, clean soil, natural forest we still have, because eventually it creates an urge to get more and more land, to clear more and more wilderness for the sake of doing this, because the more we grow like that, our soil, as you can see the succeeding arrows, is getting poorer and poorer. And every time that happens, then we need to expand again into untamed territory. We need to enlarge again yung bukid natin We are running behind a fallacy that has been taught to us that is not at all productive. It's not at all a system that allows us to care for the earth. It's a system that slowly degenerates the earth. I'm not talking here about generating, no, it's degenerating the earth. So a permaculture design, it's really about generating, ideally even regenerating, because we love to work with living components. When you grow something, make sure the cycle is never broken. You don't have to plow the soil anymore. You just leave the soil, because that's where we release enormous amounts of carbon. Every time we plow the soil, the carbon is being released in the atmosphere. The soil fabric, the microbiology of things, of nematodes, bacteria, viruses, anything that lives in there, algae, protozoa, is being destroyed for the sake of growing only one crop. There are millions of living things in the soil, keeping everything together, making sure that our carbon is not being released in the atmosphere, is not creating global warming and climate change, etc. Yet we keep on doing exactly that, that is destroying our natural systems. So what should we do then? How can we make that circle be cyclical? And this is a permaculture model of designing. It's about, first of all, if you look at the four dots, first of all, we call it the 4P system. It's about protecting what you have and make sure that you allow nature to thrive in your place. If you have no use for whatever you're doing in and around your habitat, your home, whatever you call it, then let nature be the one thriving. Let the other components, animals, birds, enjoy whatever wealth is in there. Then learn and see from that to be able to create a system, and then I go to the blue dot, where you are very productive, a system that works for you. And again, uulitin ko ha, dapat hindi para sa market ha, ang permaculture designing, unahin natin yung sarili. Yung sarili, yung community, yung mga kaibigan natin, yung pamilya natin. Hindi ko sasabihin sarili as in ikaw lang, kundi it's something that will generate benefit for the larger community. At yung surplus, whatever na meron pa, that's going into the yellow dot. It's about processing, creating maybe juices, creating products, creating jams, creating buro. I mean, the sky is the limit. There are so many things we can do with the surpluses that we produce. But you need to protect whatever is in the place. You need to understand whatever grows in your place to be able to get to the level of processing things with it. And then whatever excess is something you can promote. That's the red dot. You share it with the others, you share it within your community, or you share it outside. In that kind of system, nothing goes to waste. Everything comes back. It's the happy customer that comes back to you. It's your self-fulfilling feeling of I did something, I control something, I can do something, not the feeling of I can only consume. Here is the feeling of somebody who can design, create stuff, and can care for that creation in a way that it becomes productive over a very long time. At the same time, you're helping nature to establish abundance and wilderness around you. And you don't tap in everything. You just use a specific amount of land, of space to be able to create your permaculture design. So that's for me the first point. Uh, Look at energy as your currency. It's the real currency that makes sense and that is valuable in this world. It's not money. Money you can't eat, you can't do anything with it. If you're outside our economic system, it's useless. Just a piece of paper, it's just a coin. But energy, yung lakas sa sariling katawan, yung energy ng mga likas yaman sa paligid ng ating tahanan, sa ating community, that's yan ang ginto, yan yung energy na you can mold into something, you can promote, you can show off to other people and so on. And I think that should be the basis. Pride is not something of based on jealousies or based on having more money than other people. It's really something about skills that you develop over time to be able to create permaculture designs. So yeah, next one. If you say, how do you do that? It's easier said than done. It's again, I use here the example of he, she with a heart, a beating heart, being the solution. is the key of how to generate permaculture design. And it's not about other people, but it's really about you being the solution. And we can all start creating beautiful permaculture designs, be it landscapes, be it bamboo building, wooden furniture, clothes, fabric. I can't imagine. It's everything. It's about engaging even your own LGU into starting to develop walkways, park benches, increase the public domain instead of decreasing it and selling off everything to the largest bidder and to the corporations. Keep it into the hands and the control of the community for the public and the common good. We are the solution to that. It's not the corporations are not going to care for us. I'm sorry to say that. Pasensya na lang sa mga galing sa corporations dito, pero we need to wean off the drive for making more money, and we need to change that image into something that's much more gentle and much more productive and much more giving as well. The background I chose for this person in his solution setting is not even a Philippine background, but imagine if the country could be like this when you drive from north to south, east to west. We all agree that that would be beautiful. And if the designs that are developing within it are then blending positively with the water, with all the other energy surrounding it, I think everyone will agree that with me na yan ang gusto natin. That's the kind of backdrop that we would like to have to make our permaculture designs thrive. Yung second one is about the ecosystem, di ba? Generating. We are looking at a new way of using our energy. Secondly, it's about the ecosystem, working with nature. That's the one and the foremost thing na kailangan nating gawin. And it's easier said than done. What does it mean working with nature? Look at the magic carpet I drew there. This is our universal energy model. And if you look at the energies, there is the sun, there are the winds, there is the soil and the water. No, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Number 5 is our topography. That's the magic carpet where you're going to build the micronutrients and you are going to create the right conditions, the microclimate on top to be able to make sure that you tap in all the energies. So working with nature is to understand how you can use these energies in a way that you can live, you can create happily within your ecosystem, belonging an ecosystem that belongs to the biosphere, that belongs to the earth community. If the Philippines would be a permaculture paradise, I'm sure every nation surrounding in Southeast Asia will benefit from that eventually, because the winds will bring in the seeds, the winds will bring in the fresh air, we will tap into the carbon surplus, etc., etc. So if every country does that, wow, that would be amazing. But we start small. We start with our own, within our own capacity to be able to design. And it really depends on what we have, where can we tap into to be able to dare to make a move within the ecosystem and starting to use and to work with nature. And the drawing you can see on the right, it's really about focusing, and I'm focusing more on the left side of the spiral that you can see. And the top part is about natural. What do we see in nature? What do we still have? Then I'm talking about forest plants, water features, trees, bamboos. We are creating new markets and it's slowly picking up. But if everyone will start experimenting with natural ingredients to be able to make amazing permaculture designs, imagine how more gentle the planet will be, how more gentle the country will be. So look at nature and understand it in a way that, yes, we can get some produce from it. We shouldn't get everything, but we leave also something for the other components. But just the mere fact of understanding how can we make beautiful designs just with natural components. Because I think at this moment, we think about money, we run to the hardware store, we buy it, or we ask somebody to make it for us. That's how detached majority of us is at this time. we feel that we are powerless. We can't do it anymore. We need money to be able to do something. We need money to be able to create something. So we have to veer away from that system and understanding that nature is our hardware store. Nature is our supermarket. It's the free supermarket. It has everything it has everything we need to survive and to be able to do things. Second is about building skills because within that natural system, yung iba siguro mahilig sa pagkain so baka sila ang focus sa pagluluto ng mga super duper na sarap na dishes. Yung iba mas creative in building something. So bamboo, kahoy, uway ay magiging components nila. Yung iba gagawa sila ng musical instruments, gagawa sila ng play. So the society and the cultural fabric is really based on skills and natural provisions. And from that, we create our own culture. We maybe redesign Filipino culture in a meaningful way and also in a modern way because permaculture designing, hindi ibig sabihin na babalik tayo sa dating panahon at iiwasan na natin lahat ng mga modernong bagay. No, pwede naman mag-blend. Pero sana ang unahin natin yung kaya at yung nakikita natin at yung nagiging libre. Libre in the sense na kung dinagdag natin sa ekosistema yung mga iba't ibang likas yaman, buhay ilang, magiging mas mayaman yung paligid, magiging mas productive than yung paligid for us to do things, to create things. So that's the skills and that's the culture. And lastly, it's about building a society with these three components. That's the fourth one that is going to connect. Kasi kung sinong magaling sa pagluluto, yung iba galing sa paggagawa, mag-exchange na lang sila. Hindi naman ibig sabihin na kailangan natin gawin lahat. May hangganan din sa oras, sa panahon, etc. Pero the basic fact remains na we need to understand how we can tap into each other's skills, into each other's natural richness to be able to share, barter, and to create a system, an economy that is really meaningful. Not an economy, again, based on money and expenses, but an economy that is based on people who care for their surroundings. And because of care, they produce something. And that product is a meaningful addition to what the earth has been created for the past 3.8 billion years. So we can add many, many more years to the earth's lifespan if we will start changing our way of doing economics, politics, etc., etc. So I hope this is clear in the second part. So it's really about systems thinking because the ecosystem is a system just like our bodies are systems. Everything in nature is system. So if we start designing, if we start generating ecosystems based abundance together, we need to understand how the system operates. And again, that beating heart remains important because understanding natural designs and how they emerge in a place specific way because every place and yan yung yaman ng Pilipinas sa daming isla, sa daming korte ng lupa, yung topography na binanggit ko kanina. There is so much to discover here. So many different species have developed over time because of every unique niche in its ecosystem. So understanding that, why is something developing in my place and it doesn't want to grow 10 kilometers away from here, is protecting that uniqueness as a start before you even start changing that and like a typical migrant bring in the products that you're used from another place because nainggit ka, nakikita mo na meron silang ganyan, pero you have something in your own place that you rarely or hardly understand. So start understanding that. Start understanding your own place and study then how energy flows within. So little by little, you will become an ecosystem expert and you start learning how to work with nature. And then see how this energy flows as being stored, being consumed, and being shared about components. Walang makasarili sa kalikasan. Everything is being shared. Everything goes back to the beginning. Everything is being broken down Termites in our ecosystem are the hardwired insects that are working on that. We may not like them, but part of them is helping us to generate and rebuild the soil fabric. So we should be happy that we still have these little insects and microbes around to help us bring back everything to fertility. Because that's what nature does. It builds conditions conducive for life. And that's not something what our economy has been doing. We have been trashing the planet. We have been destroying things. We have not really been operating as a system. We pretend to talk about the economic system, but it's not at all a systems thinking entity. It's a destructive entity, harvesting the energies, but not giving back in the same amount that it harvests from nature. And then lastly, it's understanding natural patterns. If you see how the picture on the left flipped from a monoculture rice field into something where the PPA team is sitting right now, that's an aerial shot of the site of Kabyokit Foundation. In a matter of 3 to 5 years, you can create that kind of abundance in any site. And the buildings you see there are all made with bamboo and renewable materials. So trying to be as much as possible in tune with what you have. Kung nagsimula ka lang sa kawayan or sa mga materyales sa paligid, fine. Keep it simple, keep it small. Unti-unti, makakaroon ka rin ng abundance in your ecosystem. Yan yung susunod na point ng generating ecosystems based abundance, no? But we need to go first to the base. And the base is to observe opportunities. And I think binahit ko na sa kwento kanina eh. But the more we understand how to generate things and how to see working with nature within our ecosystem as a way of doing things, then we start seeing the possibilities. What are the opportunities? Because I'm now based, I'm anchored in my place. It's not about, ay miserable dito sa Samar, gusto ko pupuntang Manila, or I don't like to be in Ilocos kasi sa Cebu mas maganda. We're always comparing about monetary, about economic numbers. We're not comparing because we haven't given it enough time to understand the place we are in. And it's very important sa akin as a permaculture designing, that we really understand that place, the place we're in. So deeply connecting with your ecosystem is one way of doing that. Understanding the place you're in, as I mentioned. And then use the available energies. We have touched that a while ago. And then create practical patterns in tune with the surrounding place. So with using the energies, using the patterns that you create with the different components, your system is going to burst into energy, into productivity in a time of 3 to 5 years. And that's where you start observing and tapping into different opportunities. So I'm not going to explain everything on the light side, but looking and seeing these opportunities is based on 3 things I've been mentioning since the start, and these are natural principles. It's about how energy cycles, yung pinabuti. It's about sensitive. It's about using your place. It's about tapping into the place, interacting with it, because nature is not something, it's not a passive canvas. It's an active canvas. We integrate, we react, we do things. Animals farm. Birds pick stuff, insects eat stuff. So because of that, there is always the law of action reaction. Plants grow faster, more leaves, change their chemistry to be able to ward off certain insects, etc., etc. So use that. And then lastly, it's about akpang. It's about attitude. It's about character. It's about the pattern that you create can only develop because of pattern. If you let your negative energy take over, the patterns that you will create will not be productive, will not be in tune, will not be happy, will not be beautiful. So try to think about that. Try to think about these 3 dots as getting and understanding the place you're in, using the available energies, let the energy cycle, and then creating the patterns because your character is in tune with what you see in your surroundings. So the point being is wherever you are, be in the place. And being in the place is creating beautiful things. And this is an example of something we did with PPA. We built a swimming pool because we feel that it's not just all about work. It's also about enjoying things. It's not just about helping others to get into permaculture, but it's about sharing the moments of joy and relaxation and fun, and even having fun building it, because this is a natural swimming pool. It doesn't use any chlorine. Nakikita mo rin yung halaman sa baba. And this is the resilience center that PPA is building in the place of Cabiao as well. So looking at the abundance, pinili ko yung picture nito because sa poder lang ng swimming pool, which is our enjoyment and relaxation, nandun lahat ng pagkain. May alupati, may ube, may atlay, iba't ibang crops, may spices sa likod. So it's really about creating these abundant systems on a very, very small footprint and a very small scale to ensure that yung nakikita natin sa likod, yung forest, yung bamboos, all the other wilderness is equally thriving with us. And it's even helping and protecting us from whatever harsh elements there may be in the surroundings. So I think generating ecosystems based, now we are on the point of abundance, seeing the solution. So it's not just about seeing the opportunities a while ago, but also to see solutions. And using that sentence, it's about flipping our often negativity into something very positive, meaning to say, you know, we are humans are easily blurting out everything that's negative, but we are very sparsely using positive accolades. So seeing solutions is the point in permaculture where you say the problem is a solution. Nature has no problems. Nature deals in solutions. If something is outdated, outmoded, then genetically it will be upgraded automatically or over time. So if we learn from that natural process, then I think we can see solutions for all the perceived problems that we have. And most of the problems people will mention are always money related. Then start small. Kung wala tayong pera, maliit muna ang gagawin natin. Simple lang muna ang gagawin natin. I use here again the energy model for us to see if we do permaculture, can we make it as wasteless as possible? And I do believe we can. If you look at the minimal use and the no waste in the model, we use resources. The available energies, renewable resources, as much as possible. We look at resources that we can tap into, that are there, that are given, that we can recycle, etc. These are our materials to build with, basically. And when you follow the arrow, these materials will become products. These products will become services, and these services will go into serve consumers that eventually are going to either discard it or have consumed whatever product it was. And when it's at the end of its life, there will be minimal dumping and minimal pollution, meaning to say the wrapper can be decomposing. You can reuse the glass jar. You can bring the old bamboo furniture in the garden and let it rot and become part of the fertility of the garden. So that's the kind of model we need to see to be able to generate abundance and to see solutions for our perceived problems. Kung wala tayong lupa, makukonect tayo sa mga tao na may lupa kasi maraming tao na may lupa na walang alam kung anong gagawin. So help people to develop the land and find a meaningful connection with these owners in ways of sharing into the productivity of the land, into the productivity of the designs that you're going to make. I put 3 levels there as well. There is about the blue level, the black level, and the green level. It's about new things, it's about old materials, and it's about natural stuff. And so in that sense, you can see different ways of making products from materials that we can harvest from nature. But the principle stays the same always. if we can make something amazingly beautiful with less materials, less energy, it's always going to be more sustainable, and it will definitely produce less waste. So a nice example for me of a very parang isang permaculture product would be a paper clip. Look at the simplicity of a paper clip. It's a stretch of metal. Yes, it's metal. It's a modern material, but by just bending it two times, you create something that can clip a lot of things. And it has been with us for a very long, and it's still a very valuable design. It's a component, a thing that we are still using, even if we are more digital and more paperless nowadays. But these are the kind of designs, a simple compost bin, something that works while you're sleeping, when you're doing other stuff, something that can work with you, but not tapping into your energies, doesn't need your attention all the time. These are the kind of designs that will bring us into solution seeing, and also will generate abundance for us to be able to do more things in a more natural and giving, sharing kind of way. So it's a drawing of a tree. If you see the model of a tree in terms of abundance, how that is something that generate living, that creates life, that creates habitat. It purifies the air, it generates oxygen, it eats the carbon, stores it in its body for us to grow and then eventually use the wood. But it's also a place to be, to have fun. You can build a tree house in it. The birds will build nests in it. It's their habitat. The insects are being eaten by different birds. Snakes are there to help and hunt and minimize the the proliferation of certain species, and so on. And the fruits that we get from it, the joy of looking at the flowers when they're flowering, that is abundance. I think that's when nature speaks to us. That's when we all will say, nah, this is beautiful, and we are happy, and we are. And I think I'm happy to see the evolution, at least, that we are gaining more leverage going into planting native trees, appreciating the beauty of our own ecosystem more than mimicking or copying what we see in other countries. Because yes, the Philippines is a beautiful country. It has amazing possibilities, but we are focusing too much on getting money from outside and bringing it back inside. That's the drama of OFW. More money, but to what extent, to what kind of quality of life? So let's reflect on that. I'm not saying we should stop it immediately, but it has been a system that for the longest possible time has been driven the monetary, corporate-driven developments, designs that we are seeing all around us. And these are the designs that are slowly creating a more ugly landscape, a less productive landscape, and so a base for us to have less materials, less resources for us to build amazing designs. So let's revert it. Let's flip that coin and let's see solutions again to go back to natural abundance. Because I do believe that in a permaculture setting, that's the only thing you need. And in the future, and for us to be happy with your family, with your loved ones, with whoever you like to live with, it's a natural backdrop that we need, not a mall, not a cemented surroundings, not the noise of cars humming by, and so on and so on. So this is just to give you an idea of why I built this kind of house in the city, to be able to show that building something that's opening up to the ecosystem, something that kind of turns living inside out. I mean, from instead of a closed home, this is an open house. It's an elongated yin yang. It's an off-grid house. It stores the energy. It used all the waste materials within the vicinity to be able to create the wall, the house number, the rainwater collector tank. We use bamboos for table furniture, for the upper, for the higher, for the second floor. It's a small place, yet it kind of harbors a lot of possibilities. Rooms where you have offices, places where we can store materials, places where you can cook, where you can congregate and share stories, and so on. So sana, and even it generates its own energy because of modern materials, solar panels. And it has a wood stove, so we can even harvest the nature that still grows around it, because the house is only on a 250 square meter lot, but 140 square meter more or less is devoted for plants and woody vegetation. So we can keep on fueling the energy needs. So kahit anong krisis, kahit anong mangyayari, uh, itong klaseng designs, they are still there for you to allow some kind of living to continue, some kind of happiness to continue. You connect with the birds, you connect with the bats at night. They may fly in a little bit, they fly out. You connect even with snakes, you connect even with the animals that are living with you partially in and outside the house. Yes, you have your private homes, yes, you have your private spaces, but this house is not giving anything ugly back to the society. This is maybe the only house that has no connection to the sewerage system, because there is no sewage, there is no black water, there is no septic tank. Everything goes into a compost toilet. Everything goes back into the garden with leaves and is being processed by local worms, not even African ones, in compost that goes back to the trees, to the bananas, to the passion fruits growing on the edge. And that system continues for as long as you're eating healthy. You deposit your wealth in the compost toilet. The worms will be happy eating and processing it. It's a cycle that will never be broken. It's a cycle that doesn't spit out negative black energy into the environment, where nobody of us is really in charge on how to clean that up, how to clean up that mess. Again, happy-go-lucky, go to Manila Bay, make a stroll on the bay, and try to swim in the waters, because all of the affluents from Metro Manila, from all the homes, eventually end up in that sea. And it's a pity to see how we have been destroying that kind of beautiful body of water. When in the 60s, in the 70s, people were still going to swim on a Sunday, on a Saturday. And now the nearest beach of Manila would be probably 3 to 4 hours away. So think about how we could revert that by starting to build smarter, to see solutions and not problems, and maybe make our footprint in the process a little bit smaller as well. So I'm almost on the last part. This is about doing things together, because being great, even as PPA, we are a small team. We cannot be great together. We cannot be great alone. We need other people to work with us. And we want to work with other people as well to be able to share that greatness in the whole country. So learning how to cooperate is the essence here. Um, I put a picture of that's this kind of self-carrying bridge that Da Vinci designed long time ago, and it's a bridge you can make without any nails, and it's a perfect project to work on together. Just like in Barcelona every year, these guys make amazing towers, and the challenge is to build the highest possible tower. And you could ask, why are people doing that? What's the fun of doing that? But just the thrill of practicing, and the challenge of doing that. This is about cooperation. And this is about really having fun. And so meaningful, but it's meaningful in the sense that it draws a lot of people. It brings people together. It's the cultural fabric at play, and that's equally important if you talk about permaculture designing. We are not just designing because you want to amass wealth and objects and only for yourself. The essence of having objects is to share them. The essence of generating abundance is really to share it and to let other people tap into that abundance as well. And just to train yourself in the process to become better at what you're doing, to become better in building a tower, to become better in building a bridge like that with bamboo, with wood, whatever. Sorry. So that's also how we feel that when the most beautiful projects that emerge from our cooperation, having a small team, is when we interact, when we share permaculture principles in a way that it inspires other people, and it brings out the best in people. This is it's not yet built, but we hope that we can partake in it in the future. But it's a proposed agri-fishery complex of Bayawan City. And that was the result uh, of a 4-day training on permaculture, only 4 days with different departments of the city government. And then having the city architect drew up the the outcome in a way that it's a building plan, something that can be presented. And this is a building that has a fisheries component in it. Sorry, it has a restaurant, it has a green roof, it has a solar roof, it has all the different offices and facilities. Yet it has a very small footprint in the middle of I guess it's an 8 hectare, if I recall, an 8 hectare domain, minimizing the footprint of the building, but maximizing its possibilities and components. And exactly this is what permaculture designing stands for, and what it tries to evoke as well, for us to generate more of this kind of abundance together. But while we are building that, while we're creating this kind of designs, we value the natural surroundings. Because before you can use the bamboos, we need to ensure that our place will have the bamboos to be able to create the poles and the posts that you can see in the drawing. Before we are building, because some of the walls are could be intended with earth. Before we do that, we need to make sure that we have enough earth, that when we dig holes, when we create ponds in the surroundings, that we use that earth gently to be able to build buildings that eventually can go back to nature, because nothing is forever. In a natural system, if you remember the 4P process with the cyclical movement, yes, we store more energy over time, but everything has to deal with cycles of life and death. So every time you buy something, every time you make something, think about what your design will become in the future, because that's important as well. So having run through this being great together, setting up and looking and in a different way at our ecosystem and tapping into it in a different and a more gentle way to be able to create amazing things. Let's have some reminders still. And for me, this is what design as a design concept is focusing on. Before I would use another component, but I said it's time to move to something that is alive and kicking in the Philippines. This is Rafflesia species. I think the Philippines is blessed with about, if I'm not mistaken, with 10 different species of Rafflesia. The flowers, and if I put some drawings on the left side, it's amazing, and it's something that it's something unique, and you have to experience it before you can appreciate it. But you can see all the patterns and all the shapes and everything which what you see here, the photo taken from within and the drawings on the left side. It is beautiful and yet very functional. So here comes the essence of design. It's about look at the lines of this natural feature. Look at the shape that it's given, the body of the flower, the plate in the middle with the thorns that seemingly thorns coming out, and then the volume of the flower, because it's the largest flower, yet it has no body. It's a parasitic plant. It's a holoparasitic plant. It even doesn't have roots. It can't do photosynthesis. It just anchors itself on another vine in the forest, and it's only one type of vine that it anchors on to be able to grow these amazing big flowers. And if you then start analyzing, everything has a function. In the middle of the flower, when you see the plate with the thorny substances, this flower stinks. It's a beautiful flower, but when it's there, it stinks because it wants to attract pollinators, and the pollinators that it wants to attract are flies. And flies are carrion insects. So they go to rotten meat, they lay their eggs there, they kind of process that and bring it back to fertility for nature to deal with. So the flower wants them to pollinate its flower. So these thorns on the plate are just only there to spread out the smell through the forest, to enhance the spreading of the smell through the hole in the middle of the flower, and then receiving the flies in a kind of enlightened dome, because the spots that you see in the center are the same that you see on the leaves, but they have a different function. Here they allow light to go through, so it gives like it's like a window dressing. It's something for the fly to feel at home, not threatened, and then the fly eventually go under the plate where the flower really is, to be able to pollinate it and to fly to another rafflesia. The marks on the outside petals are not at all windows, but they are just warts that are color spots to mimic basically rotten meat as well. So it's not just the smell, it's also the visual aspects that are important. And this is about color, it's about texture, and it's about direction, because the flower direct the flies into its center to be able to then pollinate. Now, yung anim na component dito, line, direction, shape, texture, volume, and color, these are the essential aspects of any kind of permaculture design, of any kind of design that's going to be meaningful and beautiful. So if nature can create something amazing as the rafflesia flower, imagine what we could do if we learn from that. If we put everything on a line, and then we start analyzing all the different aspects, yung anim na aspects na sinulat ko dito, and start understanding what is it exactly that what I need to do. So imagine if you start building a chair now, or you start building a home, how would you use the concept of line, direction, shape, texture, volume, and color to be able to make that home, that house, or a chair, or a garden? How do you use the lines, the direction, the shape, the texture, the volume, and the color in your garden to be able to make it not just a place filled with vegetables, but also a place that is nice to look at? It's the edible landscaping that permaculture designs are pushing for. It's a food forest where you enjoy the flowers, but also the fruits afterwards, and the shape of the different canopies of trees, because you understand what volume they create, you understand the color of their flowers and their fruits, and you understand the texture and the shape and the direction and the lines that you create within your landscape. It draws in people. Everything a permaculture design does basically is to draw in somebody to explore it from close up, from nearby, not something that we run away from. It's something we would like to huddle, cuddle, something we would like to hold. And that's the important aspect. So whatever you do, whatever you are, it's about building guilds. It's about creating facilities that may sometimes still be imposing, like this Permaculture Resilience Center that PP is constructing as well. It's an imposing building because it has lots of functions, but at the same time, it's again a building that doesn't pollute the surrounding waters. It has a vermicomposting toilet. It collects its rainwater. It has a green roof on top. It uses bamboo and cement, so modern materials in a blend way. It has a forest at the back. It looks in front at productive gardens. So it's a building that will give back to nature as much as it will get materials and support from nature to be able to thrive and to be able to stand up. It will also be powered by renewable energy, in the sense that we want anything we do, any building, any object, to be as best connected to nature as possible. So there is no stress, there is no pressure, there is no negative energy that flows back from this building or from that object or that permaculture design to the surrounding ecology. So just to show a few pictures of the building. So it's I hope you understand the concept of building guilds, because it's really the pattern that I mentioned in the beginning that's super important for us to make something amazingly resilient and adaptive as well. And I think we are all faced with climate change. We are all faced with this with very dire times. For many young people, a lot of reflection needs to happen. We can't continue living the way we have been for the past so many years. So even if I feel guilty about it, the only thing I can do personally is to start or at least continue designing and building stuff that is going to be in tune with nature. That's not going to be more extractive than it has been in the past. And I hope that many of you, much younger than I am, much younger than what PPA has been created already in the past, that you can be able to build this kind of guilds as well within your community, with your friends, with your loved ones, with your place. Meaning to say, whatever you find in your place, make that the bottom line, the starting point for you to become amazingly creative and productive. And I think then the guilds that we are building are not just going to be limited to the community, but they will be limited to a region, regions to the country. And before we know it, we flip the paradigm, we flip our lens, our way of seeing, and we might realize that the sacred is not embedded in money and in the markets where we hear about double-digit growth, but the sacred can be found in life, creating conditions conducive for life, and in the living earth, our Gaia, our natural fabric, the home, the only home we know. And working within that, working with all these natural components and elements, that's an amazing thing. And I would wish each and everyone to start designing that way, because creation is the best way to retain your sanity, to keep healthy, to keep happy as well. And it's the rewards that we gain by doing natural designs that are almost impossible to express. You need to do it. You need to experience for you to understand that. So get out there, explore your own surroundings, and build your own permaculture designs. I guess this is the last slide. You get an aerial view of what we try to build, how we try to create, and natural beauty, and human needs within one system where everything will thrive and everything will prosper, and where we can give back to nature while we are also generating that kind of abundance for us to sustain our human needs, our community needs as an organization and as a community living within another community in the town of Cabiao. So let's leave some time. I think we still have time. I throw this back to Irene for some questions and then maybe some answers, or maybe you have things you would like to get clarified based on my presentation. So happy morning to each and everyone again, and hoping to hear from you.
Yes, thank you po, Sir Bert. I think my takeaway po will be, what if we design our lives and how we live from day to day that chooses to benefit the earth and all its inhabitants and our communities? It's not true po na maliit lang ang magagawa ng bawat isa, pero starting with right intention, small positive change, starting from ourselves. Kapag pinagsama-sama natin ito, I think we can be limitless, we can make a huge impact po, and we can be the solution. Sabi nga po ni Sir Bert kanina, and we are the solution. So, i-open ko na po ang ating stage for Q&A. Kung meron po kayong mga katanungan, pwede niyo pong i-type, o kaya pwede niyo rin pong itaas ang kamay niyo sa Zoom or mag-unmute. Ayan, mukhang iniisip pa po natin yung mga questions natin. Let's just take our time.
Hello
We'll
po.
have... Ayan.
Yeah. My name is Shine. I would just like to ask, sir, what would be your advice for us? Kasi we acquired a land in Cavite because we also wanted to do organic farming, natural farming, and shift our lifestyle then from city life into a more simple life in Cavite. But then we are IT professionals, so we've worked in IT companies for like 8, some of us 15 years. So practically po, we don't have idea on farming, ganyan. So we're just starting to join seminars like this. Um, Sir, is it advisable po to is it better for us to seek a permaculture design consultant since we're just starting? Or do you think it's possible for us to do it on our own through uh, our own research?
Depende talaga sa inyo, pero you can do it on your own. Pwede nyo
Mm.
ibubuo yung sariling design. Pero suggestion ko na rin yan ay ipapakita mo na rin sa isang permaculture expert or kahit sino na may alam sa permaculture. I-bounce back mo yung design. Siguro it's funny na sinabi mo na IT experts kasi sa nakaraan taon marami ako na-encounter na IT experts na gustong bumalik sa kalikasan, sa ibang lifestyle, di ba? So it's nice to hear that from such an extreme discipline like IT, you go back to nature. Hindi ko lang alam kung gaano severe na yung umbilical cord ninyo sa nature, sa ecosystem. So try to tap into that. Ano yung hilig ninyo? Producing food, madali lang yan. Pero producing the food you like to eat, baka ibang level na yan. So balance this stuff and come up with something that's meaningful for whoever is going to live with you in that project. And I think that process is something nobody can make for you. As a permaculture designer, you can guide the process, yes. If you do it completely alone, it's fine, but I would really strongly recommend na ipapakita mo rin sa iba't ibang tao. Then secondly, ano magiging mukha ng projects ninyo? Is it going to be again monetary in origin? Are you focusing on making money, or are you focusing on living a life worth living? So that's something you have to find out for yourself as well. Are you there to produce stuff that you're going to market, etc., etc. Hindi ko rin alam yung laki ng area nyo. So all of that depends na ano yung possibilities, ano yung capacities. Explore nyo rin yung paligid kung saan nyo binili yung lupa. Ano yung mga surrounding communities, can you tap in them, can you work with them? They can also be your guide, your support system. Sana. And kayo din, you can also be a support system for them. So the first thing you have to work out for yourself, and that's about generating the things. So what do you want to make? How are you going to use your energies to be able to do that, to set up an amazing design in and with something you haven't been dealing with for most of your professional life, I guess, hearing you out. So yeah, getting a consult and getting advice, it's always helpful. That's the last and the least I can say about it.
Mhm. Sir, kasi yung farm po namin is in Cavite. Do you have, wala din kami idea where to get permaculture design consultants. So is there anyone here in the association we can contact?
Yeah, you can. I think that you can write an email after this to PPA.
Okay.
I think sure they will answer you. No
Okay
worry.
po. All right
Uh,
po. Thank you po.
Is that all po, Miss Lee? Do you have
Yes
other
po.
questions? Thank you po.
None so far po. Thank
Thank you
you.
po for that question. Sir Bert, we have question about our natural pool dito po sa Cabiao. Sabi po ni Maki Angeles, how is the natural pool built? Sabi naman po ni Gigi, gaano kaligtas po yung pool na walang snakes na maliligo kasabay ng mga tao?
ano yung huling tanong? Pakiulit.
Gaano kaligtas po yung pool na walang snakes na maliligo kasabay ng mga tao?
Yung tick as in yung insekto?
Snakes po. Ahas. Ahas po, sir.
Ahas. Well, you know, first of all, yung how it was built, it was still using you still have a basin for containing the water, no? So that's still cement and some natural rubber. But basically, the system is pumping the water all around, all throughout, into a basin filled with volcanic rock, and we have plenty of that in the Philippines. No, if it comes from Mount Pinatubo or Mount Mayon, doesn't matter. The plants are growing in stony matter, and every crevice of the stones houses bacteria that will take care of the water. So the water is being filtered, it's being pumped and cycled all throughout. So you swim in the same water, but it just goes through the natural system. Yes, you have some algae. Yes, sometimes you have snakes in there. Yes, sometimes you have other stuff, but that's a natural pool. If you swim in the river, if you swim in the lake, you may swim with crocodiles and you don't know about it. Most of all the time, animals are more afraid from us than we should be afraid of them. Snakes will run away from you. Any other animal will run away from you because we are the most destructive species. So don't worry too much about it. But overcome your fears in going back to nature. As I said in the first slide, remember, segregate to be able to integrate, understand first what's happening in the natural pool. How do I maintain water into a healthy level so I will not get sick swimming in it? That's the most important thing. If you're going to share it with other natural components, of course, because that's also the sharing aspect. So there is that kind of balance. A chlorinated pool is a dead pool. You swim in water, it looks blue, but it's not at all the real water that nature, that earth has been giving us. So that's my short, long answer on the natural pool. If you really want to make one, again, maybe better send an email because these are design details that may need some time and a longer explanation.
All right. Meron naman po tayong question from Kyle Kondu on how to become a PTA member. Sure, Kyle, ako na po sasagot sa inyo dyan. We'll be launching our membership program soon. So, i-follow nyo lang po ang ating page, Philippine Permaculture Association. Meron din po tayong IG at meron din po tayong website, or you can always message us po. But we'll be posting for that soon po, informing you all the details. Okay, si Antes A12 naman po wants to share quickly and ask question to Sir Bert. Go ahead po.
Yeah, good morning, Bert. I'm Ante. I attended 2019 PDC in Kabioki, if you still remember, and I saw the beginning stages of that swimming pool and the other structures. And my quick sharing is since 2019 until now, we are trying to develop a less 1 hectare agricultural land in Santo Tomas, Batangas, and still a work in progress. But my personal journey towards permaculture in a way has helped me because what I was sharing with you, we try to give importance to silent meditation or breathing meditation because it has slowed me down and become more connected with nature, to be more sensitive with nature. And I think that is what you are trying to. I got slowed down in my past because of the breathing meditation, and also in line with some Eastern philosophies or thinking, which is quite Asian. So it has helped me a lot with what you are trying to say. And that's my quick sharing. My question to you, Bert, may be more of a personal journey into this permaculture life. In your sa buhay mo, was there a point, parang yung turning point na nagpabago sa iyo and you became more connected with nature, and you are so you could easily share with us all these permaculture concepts beautifully. But for me, it's still a work in progress at my level. But with your personal journey, what was your turning point and how, in a way, made you more connected with nature?
Oh,
Thank you.
Yeah, salamat. Salamat sa sharing din sa una kasi tama, tama. Slow down ay isang magandang bagay. Kahit fast-paced pa rin yung buhay ko compare sa buhay mo, I still have my moments of reflection and kind of deep ecological sense of connection with the things I see around me if I travel, if I move from one side to another. So it's really important. And I think ang importante lang dito is we need to tap into our own senses. What really makes sense for people, it is silence. For other people, it's maybe talking, it's singing, it can be many things. But find your grounding, find your meaning within nature, within the larger ecosystem. Yung sa tanong mo, actually mahirap isasagot kasi I think my personality is really a little bit natural. I resonate easily with forests. If I walk in there, I see things, I feel things. So it has always been a little bit like that. But then elevating that to a level of designing, and actually when I came to the Philippines 33 years ago, I was so amazed with the beauty of the tropical ecosystem, different kind of trees. So that already made me see an enormous amount of beauty in the country. And sadly, in the early 90s, this country was still uh, safe from all the subdivisions. There was no bottled water that you see here on the picture. There was basically no trash. Our population was, I think, 70 million, if I'm not mistaken. But in these 30 years, I have seen so much ugliness, and it really touches me. So my way of going back to nature is because I would like to counter the ugliness I see around me, and I try to counter it in a positive way, fighting negativity with positivity. And I think nature is positive. Nature is basically positive energy, and if we can mold that into something that works for ourselves at the same time, create something beautiful around us, I think then you're on a personal path of reconnection, rejuvenation, of deeper sense within yourself and with nature as well. So that worked for me. I'm being pushed by what I see, by what I feel, and by that a great sense of this is really a beautiful country with beautiful people. So let's not get it go to waste. Let's not let it go or disappear into the hands of outsiders or corporations or whatever. So that's a personal process. I think it's going to be different for each and every one, but I can tell everyone here on the Zoom that you have a beautiful country, you have an amazing ecosystem that is super abundant. We just need to see it, and we will not find it in Metro Manila, Metro Cebu, and Metro Davao. Yet for many people, these continue to be the temples of prosperity, and I believe they are more like the temples of doom. So I wish that when you walk out here at 12, that you walk out light and with glasses and with a lens that sees things in a different perspective. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Bert.
Thank you po, Sir Ante. So, from Camila Gacelo, good morning po, sir. Yung IDOFS, Integrated Diversified Organic Farming System po ba, ay considered or po ba ay included or considered po ba siya as permaculture?
Yeah, it's part. It's a food production system. I always say now we invented so many different systems. There is syntropic agriculture, organic agriculture, IDOFs. There is biodynamic agriculture. All of them are production systems. But for me, what permaculture does differently from every other thing, it's that it has been coined in '72. The first time we realized that we were heading towards a crisis. We were consuming all the resources. That's about 50 years ago. So let's understand the vastness of what permaculture has shared to us since then, and consider all the other approaches as ways of translating that in a meaningful way for each and every one. So if somebody wants to go into IDOS, it's one way of doing organic farming. If somebody wants to do biodynamic farming, he uses a different set of tools. But basically, it all fits under the cloak or umbrella or uh, yeah, the umbrella of permaculture for me. But permaculture is more. It's plus plus. It's about how we build stuff, how we create communities, how we how we how we celebrate our culture and our identity as a people, connecting with our natural surroundings. So that's something that IDOS or syntropic agriculture or organic farming are not per se talking about. And I think permaculture does. Permaculture gives you the broad spectrum of change is not going to be limited to you developing 1,000, 1 hectare, 10 hectare piece of land. It's what spills over that's going to create the change. And that's how I think we should all be looking at the small or the big projects that we are going to engage with.
Since we've mentioned about iDocs po, we have one speaker po sa darating po nating convergence who's I think expert po on this matter. That will be on November po, November 25 to 27. Pwede niyo po kaming kontakin if you like to join sa convergence po. Ito po ay gaganapin sa Mindoro. Ayun. Next question from Leonard Yap. Any resources where we can learn the financial feasibility of a permaculture farm versus traditional farm?
It's a fun place to be. That's the only thing I can say. Kung hindi pa kayo convinced, puntahan nyo na ng isang permaculture farm para ma-feel nyo. It's not just a farm. It's also a place where you can relax, where you can read a book, where you can live, where you can dance. The things I was trying to mention. A farm needs to be a reflection of what we celebrate in our culture, because not everyone will want to grow food crops. Some people like to draw, some people like to write, some people like to do other things. And I think in a permaculture farm, you have all of these possibilities at your fingertips. And I think if you design one yourself, if you design a place yourself, start with the place you call home and start converting that into a permaculture place. So I think that's the difference. It's not, again, an economic venture where you're going to grow lettuce for a market that you don't understand. It's a place where you're going to grow food, where you're going to share food, where you slow down and you're going to be happy, go lucky, engage with your ecosystem.
Ayan, mag-hello lang po ako kay Miss Norma Cartuna. Sabi niya, yung question po, excited to practice what I learned. Happy po na madami ako natutunan since nag-join sa PTA. Hello po. Thank you po. Another question from Leonard Yap. How do you compensate a permaculture designer?
Well, there are many ways of doing that. I mean, I guess it's really about engaging. Is it a barter system? Is it going to be monetary in origin? Is it going to be sharing profits? Anything that works for you is something that you can, and I think you should find a designer that is willing to, if you want to get an outsider, somebody who's willing to work on along your terms or your vision about it. And if you feel it's a fair system, have a nice engagement about it. And if you find that person, I think then you found your connection. So there are many ways of doing it. Sometimes it's the simple monetary way. Sometimes it's sharing, and it's sharing, bartering. Can be anything.
Okay. To Carlos naman po, yes, that's our email. One of the email addresses of PPA, Philippine Permaculture, asok@gmail.com. And to Chris Rodriguez, asking about, can we have a group chat? Maybe we can discuss that sometime po. We're not sure about that din po kasi. But you can always PM us if there's any concern po or would like to partner with us po. Question po, Sir Bert mentioned about vermicompost toilets. May I know what worms does he use if not the African night crawlers?
So everything turns into a business. I don't want to um, to offend people, but you know, all of these things should be with each and every one. Composting, bokashi, takakura, all the systems that we use for where there is seemingly secret concoctions to be used to be able to make it work. I tend to veer away from it because it disempowers people. I do believe that we should all empower each other again. And empowering each other is to understand what's happening in our ecosystem. So the worms, the African night crawlers, for me, I'm not saying it's a hoax. It works. But you know, they are 1,000 per kilo or even 1,500 per kilo. If you have the money, pay for it. That's my guess. But everything, if you have happy soil, if you have good soil, and you put something that can be decomposed on top of that soil and you cover it, then after 1 week, local worms have been processing that for you as well. If the process will take for the Philippine worms, because they are all around us, we have local rainworms, mga bulate na local, they are kahit saan, iba-iba sa, depende sa level, kung bukid man or sa city, but even here in Marikina, we have plenty of them. So they just come. If you create habitat, if you build it, they will come. And that's with all the other positive elements as well. If you build a beautiful permaculture farm, other components will come. So some of them may eat part of your produce and others will help you protect your produce. So that's the balance we're talking about in the permaculture system. And it's easier said than done, huh? So I'm not saying na mangyari agad, pero it's a process that will start emerging after 3 to 5 years, and then it's up to you to tweak your design, improve it, work with the different challenges in order to improve it and to make sure that you find your own balance. So local worms, they are there. Just use them. Use whatever local microbes you have to be able to decompose stuff to make your own effective microorganisms. It's easy to find the startup in any of the social media channels, but you can do it yourself. And I highly recommend you do it yourself and you experiment yourself. You may spend 2 months doing that, but the result of experimenting yourself is something you will never lose. That's a skill you have gained for the rest of your life. If you buy it and you follow instructions, you're like a robot, and that's what we do in schools. We teach people technologies and secret solutions, but we're not really teaching them the meaning of life or the life skills for that matter. So that's the difference. So go about experimenting happily and share your findings, because that's part of what permaculture designers and practitioners are doing. It's the open source. It's something you find out, share it with others so they can experiment as well.
Okay, from Janice Marillo, I just want to ask also how much it costs getting a permaculture designer or consultant.
Sinahot ko na yan, di ba? It can cost a lot of money and it can cost you little money depending on how you want to go about it. At yung time frame na rin yan kasi. Pero in any case, kahit paano, ipapakita mo rin yung mga design. Sana magmumula sa inyo yung first set. Ipapakita nyo na lang sa mga eksperto o sa mga nangunguna sa inyo para at least may makuha din kayo ng valuable info.
Okay, for May Isabel Turiana, I bought a 600 square meter farm. I'm planning to start a workshop site with a mini farm to table area. I like the permaculture designed as a start with a rainwater catchment, a bamboo-based building, a natural swimming, etc. I'm wondering how you started, especially in getting people to help work with you and design. Can you visit one of your permaculture sites too?
Yeah, you can visit. The starting is a little bit tricky kasi when we started in 2000, wala pang permaculture, parang sa Philippines, medyo bago pa yung konsepto. And I found it very strange, pero mahirap kasi kung ikaw ang nasa una, ang community, iba ang tingin sa inyo. So we had a lot of negative reactions, trying people to try to bring us down. So the first 8 years of building the site basically was silently working within. Hanggang nakita ng tao na, ay, there is something there. May something na gusto ko rin malaman. So doon kami binuksan ng pintuan, and then doon lumapit yung local community. Siguro na yon ay iba na yung panahon eh. Mas urgent na yung need, yung kailangan natin. So mas maraming medyo may bukas na sa permaculture. So I guess in whatever you do, kahit malit na yung 600 square meter, isama mo talaga yung kapitbahay, kapitbukid nyo. Work with them first, no? Bago ka magbukas ng mga workshop, try to level off with them. How you can cooperate, how we can share. I think yan yung pinaka-importante to make the place you're building meaningful for yourself and for the community as well.
From Norma Cortuna, I'm from Occidental Mindoro po. May friend po ako na nag-send sa akin ng video about Mount Iglis, I think. And Sir Bert, Peeters, plan lang po namin pasyalan kasi napakaganda na po doon. Napakaganda na po doon.
Yeah, just to say something about yung effort ng PPA to get involved in ecosystem restoration. Yung thriving kasi, di ba, ang bansa natin hindi lumalaki. Yung population lumalaki. So paano natin i-disenyo din yung bansa natin in a way na hindi parati at lahat na ginagawa natin ay para sa mga makina. I hate to say it, but the 4-lane highways are not a solution. They are not going to help us feed the nation. They are not going to create more natural beauty. Yet, yan yung ongoing development framework. At hindi lang ipapalapat yung mga kalsada, kundi dadagdag ng maraming kalsada pa for the sake of corporate greed again. So, I think we should all bond together to understand kung ano pa yung beauty na meron sa Pilipinas, ano pa yung mga communities na iba't ibang pamaraan sa pamumuhay, at paano sila mag-succeed, paano sila mag-thrive, and learn from that, and let's build also within yung sariling communities natin. Kasi yes, maganda ang Mindoro, yes, maganda ang Cebu, yes, lahat ng lugar ng Pilipinas may kagandahan. I-rediscover natin. At yung pinakamagandang lugar ay yung lugar kung saan ang tahanan natin. So, using permaculture designs to work within your own community as a start, sa akin it's super important. Bago tayo magkalat sa iba't ibang lugar or i-feel natin na, ay, Palawan ang maganda kasi yan ang sinabi ng mga foreign magazines eh. Before we know it, pinapangit na natin ang Palawan kasi lahat tayo tatagpo doon. Diba? Let's work within our own means and places, and then let's all do a little share on ecosystem restoration, understanding what we can do to be able to bring back natural beauty beyond yung mga lugar na tinatawagan natin na pribado. Sana lahat dapat public land eh. Pero anyway, that's my dream. Yeah, go up there and see the place. I think sa October, bubuksan nila ulit yung national park. Natural park. Actually, it's not a national park, it's a natural park. Yes.
Ayan, na-mention ni Sir Bert about ecosystem restoration. Yan po yung theme ng ating Philippine Permaculture Convergence na mangyayari po sa November sa Mindoro. If you want to join, magpo-posting po kami tungkol dyan, at welcome po kayo na i-PM kami or i-email kami anything about partnerships, kung ano man po yung sa tingin nyo pwede nating pagtulungan to share permaculture po sa Philippines. I think may humabol po na question here from Maki Angeles. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Bert, for sharing your experience with us. My partner and I are planning to make our move back to Bicol, where we have ancestral land that we plan on caring for using permaculture design and sharing with the community. How did you overcome fears about whether this would work or not? I think there's a lot of fear ingrained in us by capitalism and a lack mindset. We're both watching it.
Yes, I think dapat pag-ibig. Gamitin nyo lang pag-ibig, dalawa kayo. You can trust yourself, you can do it as a team. Um, Create a power team kasi maraming a-holes sa paligid. Many people will want to bring you down in the beginning, pero believe in the process and believe in what you're doing, and make sure na meron din kayong munting sagradong lugar, something that's only for you to enjoy, and then share and build it gradually. Economically wise, everyone will tell you you're crazy. Ginawa din nila sa amin eh. Pero what you gain with it, eventually, pwede ka pa rin mag-tap sa local market, no? So you're still part of the monetary market. Pero make it really work for yourself. Make it beautiful. Lalo na yung huling sinabi ko na dapat maganda din. So if you need to do it slowly, do it slowly. And make it meaningful for the two of you and whoever will live with you in that place. But don't worry, kasi beauty survives basically. And I think you may have some hard times. That's I think why PPA wants to be meaningful, kasi as a network, all members sana i-share na nila yung mga hardships, yung mga obstacles, yung mga problema na hindi pa nakita yung iba na paano yung solution dito. Kayo nakita nyo na, share that kind of experiences because we can all learn from it. And I think it helps other incoming permaculture practitioners to get engaged and to ensure na kaya din nilang gawin. So good luck, success. I think you made the right decision. So if we can help in the future, do it with love and everything will fall into place.
Yun. I think we have covered all of the questions na po. So thank you po sa lahat ng sharing nyo, sa mga comments nyo po sa Facebook and sa questions. Now, I think we need to acknowledge our speaker for today. We have a certificate here for Sir Bert Peeters. Sertipiko ng pagkilala ay ginagawad kay Bert Peeters bilang pagkilala sa kanyang pamamahagi ng mga mahalagang kaalaman bilang panauhing tagapagsalita sa episode na pinamagatang Permaculture Design na ginanap ngayong araw, ika-12 Agosto taong 2022. Maraming salamat po, Sir Bert, sa inyo pong oras.
Salamat Irene, salamat sa PPA. So tuloy natin yung gawain sa bansa natin. At mabuhay sa lahat ng mga permaculture listeners and enthusiasts out there. Kasi we need the accolades from each other, no? So good luck and more power to all of us.
Alright, thank you po, sir. At para naman po sa mga gusto pong makiconnect po sa PPA, kung meron po kayong mga naiisip na projects or programs na sa tingin nyo po makakatulong po kami sa inyo, andito po ang ating website, ang ating Facebook page, Philippine Permaculture Association. Meron rin po tayong Instagram at ito nga po ang ating email address. Ayan, muli marami pong salamat sa pagsama po muli sa amin ngayong umagang ito. At sana po marami po tayo natutunan. Re-request lang po sana namin na picture-picture lang po tayo ng konti. Kung okay lang po. Sa mga gusto pong mag-open ng kanilang camera, konting picture-picture lang po. Ayan. 1, 2, 3, smile. Meron pa ba? May isa pang face? Ayan. Thank you po. Thank you po sa inyong lahat na pumunta. At happy lunch po sa lahat. Thank you, Sir Bert.
Thank you po.
Bye. Happy lunch to everyone.